Hello, my name is Matthew Aldis, and today we are going to talk about the book of Mark. Mark is the second book in the New Testament, is one of the four Gospels concerning Jesus Christ, and is the shortest of those four Gospels, totaling 16 chapters. Tradition tells us that the author of Mark's Gospel is John Mark, named so in Acts chapter 12 and Acts chapter 15. This would be the same John Mark that the Apostle Paul dismisses, and tradition tells us that John Mark met up with the Apostle Peter in Rome and began to record the oral sayings or sermons of the Apostle Peter, and that became the Gospel of Mark, which was disseminated to early Christians. Modern scholars believe that there is not enough evidence to warrant that, and so they would indicate that the book is most likely written by an anonymous author and uses the title of Mark to gain credibility. As my New Testament professor in seminary would have said, Mark was written by Mark or someone with the exact same name. The structure of the book can be broken down into three major sections. First section being chapters 1, verses 8 through 26, chapter 1 verses chapter 8 through verse 26, which is Jesus' ministry in Galilee. The second section begins in chapter 8, verse 27, and goes to chapter 10, and this is when the Apostle Peter declares Jesus to be the Messiah. We see the transfiguration of Jesus with Moses and Elijah, and then their journey towards Jerusalem. The third section is chapters 11 through 16, in which Jesus enters triumphantly into Jerusalem and experiences the last week of his life, where he will be arrested and persecuted and eventually crucified, will be buried, and then will rise from the grave. The theme of the book of Mark is greatly contested, but it is safe to say that we can take what is written in chapter 1, verse 1, which is, Mark is writing the book so that you will know the beginning of the good news of Jesus the Christ, the Son of God. The word Christ in Greek is Christos. It is not Jesus' last name. It is a title indicating anointed one or Messiah. And so when we read the book, we need to understand historically the people of Israel are waiting for a divine Messiah to show up and rescue them from their Roman oppressors. And so the Gospel of Mark believes that that identity of the Messiah is confirmed in Jesus. And so Mark is the tale of the good news of Jesus, who is called the Son of God. Three titles that seem to follow Jesus Christ in the book of Mark, the first being the Son of Man, which we have read about in chapter 7 of the book of Daniel. Jesus is seen as this divine figure who has come back in a position of judgment. Jesus is also referred to as the Son of David. Thus, the Davidic king has returned to establish his reign on earth. And finally, the title Son of God. This is the one who represents what the Creator God of Israel is like, and to see Jesus is to see God. So Mark's Gospel is jam-packed full of action. You will find several times through your reading that paragraphs begin with straight away or immediately or without delay. Jesus did X, Y, or Z, meaning the action is just happening very fast-paced. There's not a lot of time for brevity. Mark wants you to understand how important Jesus Christ is. It takes you about an hour to read through the book in one sitting. It's one of my favorite books in the New Testament. I pray that you will be enriched and you encounter the risen Christ through the gospel.